design you see around you today reveals the intent of the designer. And that's very true. When you look at different products that you use on a daily basis, when you look at different structure, different architecture, different things around you, just by taking conscious observation of those things, you would inherently know that this is what the designer of that product is trying to aim at. Look at the aviation industry, look at transportation, look at architecture, building. Most of those industries, most of their designs were rooted in inspirations that were gotten from nature. And I'll tell you this. There's something we call biomimicry. It's a design concept that says many of inspirations that you derive are from the nature. For example, look at your bed. For example, look at your animal kingdom. For example, look at plant ecosystem. There are common factors here. For example, look at birds. Some group of people think, observe, analyze, detailed studies, right, of the bird, and they realize that there can be a device that can be created that can fly. That was against the natural reality of that time. The knowledge that can bet that kind of product was far away to time. But this concept stem out from careful study of environment. And for example, in that context was the bird, right? And the first idea came from someone called Leonardo da Vinci, who was one of the greatest of all time scientists. He was a scientist, he was a designer, he does a lot of things. At some point, he was a military strategist. Amazing guy, right? And after some time, the likes of the Wright brothers came around to actually detail out a product that can actually, fly. And look at the years now. Nowadays, you see that there are flying machines that can even fly farther than the birds, right? There are machines that are very, very versatile and also flexible than that of the bird. And that tells you what biomimicry actually means. It's a concept of innovation that tells about careful study of environment, drawing inspiration from the environment, from our daily activities. You can also see that animal kingdom, there's something about animal kingdom. You see, some of that particular sound that you hear in that particular vehicle, if you carefully observe it, there's a particular animal that, you saw the animal, right? That has that kind of sound, that produces that kind of sound. And we can actually translate that into a product, into a machine. So those were coded, right? It was an abstract concept that was, brought to life. The same way other animals too that have that kind of unique sound, see the lion, see leopard, and the likes of them. So that tells you, animal kingdom, people draw inspiration from there to especially unique animals that have unique, behavioral traits. They want to be able to translate it into a luxury brand or a luxury product. And also, you see plant ecosystem. Many great scientists have drawn inspiration from there. We talk about the 80-20 law, 80-20 principle. We've applied that principle in almost everything, in habits, in development, in a system, in different analogy. You can bring that into different contexts and you would achieve that same goal. That idea was conceived from just animal experimentation, like just regular experiment that was conducted in an animal farm, right? And that tells you how much inspiration humans are drawn from nature. And that tells you how gifted humans can be. And by carefully studying their environment to see how they can embed nature with innovation. You see now these days, you see cars, right? You see, telephone. Cars at some point was moving in a cart, right? Like a box like this from a wheel, and you have one animal that was tagged. But this came out, inspired the concept of cars or vehicles. People now use vehicles. If you go to, hardly you see places where they use horses and carts, right? And maybe for royalty or so. But nowadays you see that we have different versions of cars, different levels of cars, but they all stems from nature. How we can draw inspiration from nature to develop a product that humans will use that can benefit their life. So if you are an innovator, if you want to create things that people would find astonishing, I think you should pay more attention to your nature, your surroundings. I mean, you see creative genius, you see, people who are in the arts environment, they draw inspiration from nature, and you just want to pay attention to things around you. It's funny that people can be walking in a particular road. Same, people can have different observations. Someone can spot a red color, someone else will spot yellow color on that same street. So that tells you how we have been blessed abundantly by nature to create things that can benefit human endeavors. And yes, so this is to you if you are an innovator, if you are if you love to create things, you want to be able to constantly become so aware about your environment. And for those who are struggling to raise funds, I've been there honestly, and I've raised funding in grants. And I have a system that works. If you want to access that system, guides, and also grant portal to have access to grant opportunities, you can click the link in my bio. So I'll see you in my next episode.